our special guest is busy. We're hoping to get him or her coming on, hopefully, to give us a tip in the next 15 minutes.
But you go ahead, go first.
Quick tips. No, I've only got one thing really to share because you've got some cool things. And, Kevin and I were sort of talking about this as well and about our training classes. At what stage do you jump into color management? Now, I think typically we all think of color management of being more of an advanced thing. Certainly if we are working on network shows, then you'd be color managed. You're in the higher end of things, but there's really no reason why now, certainly in Resolve and all the software you'd probably be using out there has a certain level of color management, that you couldn't just jump on and do your music video or your YouTube clip or anything you are coloring using color management. So if you think the way that you would grade it normally that we would in, Rec 709 2.4, if we are just working display referred, we would have to go through here and balance all of these shots out using our own way that we do it, maybe a curve or a contrast or a pivot or lift gamma gain, loads of ways. And guaranteed, if I gave these shots to everyone, and here's the one that we're coming up later for the grading challenge, everybody's going to do it slightly different to get to that starting point. But if I go into my settings and into my color management here, the new color managed has been simplified. So it does an automatic color management for you. And really it's to just get you feeling, to get you confident to use it rather than give you lots of things to have to go in and set up. So I can just say SDR and SDR Rec 709 is my output. So pretty much the same as normal. And what it will do, it will switch a lot of these clips that were looking quite loggy, for want of a better word, 2 minutes ago, will now look reasonably normal as a really good starting point. Now, just to prove that, here is a ProRes 444 clip. Now, it knows what this was because of the metadata of this clip. If I right click on it, I can bypass that color management like that. So that's how it was if I'd have just left it uncolor managed. And I can just turn that back on. If there's a clip that it doesn't recognize, like here, this is Panasonic. I just right click on it and find import color space. And I'll go down and I'll find my Panasonic there. So I would say if you've been thinking about trying this, and just jump in and do it. Have some fun, because certainly the way that everything's evolving in grading, if you start to climb up your ladder and start to work on bigger shows, then you really want to be working, color managed. And they have simplified it, and it's all moving in the right direction.
Roz, the thing that I think is really interesting, and we'll talk more about the polls later, but there's a large percentage of people using their tool of choice who aren't working color managed. And this is really a time saving at the easiest. But at the greatest level, it gives, I think, a higher level of flexibility, especially when it comes to finishing, because of the different tweaks between, say, going to an iPhone screen versus like the web, becomes a real quick and easy way for you in color managing. Was this year? Was this like heavy for you? This is the year that you said, okay, I'm doing everything color managed?
Probably more so this year, yeah, since 17. So it just becomes the sort of default, and you don't think about it. Going back to what Kevin and I said, look, should we be teaching this in a 101 class? And I think you got to teach both, because at some stage you've sort of got to know still what to do if color management doesn't work for you and you bypass it and you're still balancing a clip the old way, so to speak. But it's sort of something I'm bringing into 101 classes now, because I think people just see it like that and go, well, that's great. This is easier. I like that. That seems to work well. I understand that's how it looked when I shot it. So I think that's what I'm starting.
The thing that freaked me out the most is that when I switched over to it, a bunch of the shots suddenly looked good. And I'm like, wait, where's all my log? This is supposed to be a log clip. And, it's that metadata that does the magic. And while this is look, if you're in the group watching this who goes, oh, I've been using Color Manage forever, that's great. But when we polled out the people, we were stunned at the number of people who weren't working Color Managed, which is why I thought it was such a valuable tip, was.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Well, you want to show us some stuff?
I'll show a
waiting to
couple
hear.
items. I'll show a couple items, sure.
Cool, man. Cool,
I
man.
think you need to give up your screen share, just so there's not both of us sharing at the same time. But I don't know if that, I'm going to go ahead here. I'll do the share anyway.
Yeah, I thought I did. But
You
there you
did,
go.
and I just don't know if we're both sharing at the same time. And
No,
I'm
this
actually
is-
running 2 operating systems at the same time. But I wanted to do a couple little things before I did big things, or I kind of would rather just nail out a couple little things I thought were valuable. I was working with some people the other week who had been using Resolve for years, and they didn't really know what highlight difference really could do for them. So I'm going to go ahead here. Let me move that out of my way. And so we all understand, we know what highlight, whether we're looking at the matte, but it's this A/B switch. And anything I change suddenly lights up in this A/B switch. So if I go ahead here and I start lifting, it's lighting up the pixels that have changed. And that's nice. Now it's kind of my starting point with it. Where I really love to show this off is when I go in and I start working with noise reduction. This is like where I live. I'm almost here as a default, because I can say, all right, how much luma noise is there in this shot? And it's lighting up the luma noise, so I can go, oh, that's what I want to adjust. Let me unlock those. Not the chroma noise. There's no chroma noise in this shot. It's just luma noise. So this is one of my favorite uses of it. And I love the keyboard choice for it, which is Control-Shift-H, Command-Shift-H on the Mac. And it's one of those little ones, that I just go, man, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's one that you would never know to use unless somebody, I think, would go, here's its case usage. One of the ways I was using it was I was doing things like throwing, let's see if I can get the effect I want here. I was throwing that scroll is just a little off. I threw dehaze on it, of all things. And it did just some wonderful things. There it is, dehaze. I'm gonna throw dehaze on it. I'm gonna say, okay, show me what it's dehazing. And then as I start to play with the dehaze, I can see what it's involving. It's just a phenomenal piece to your arsenal. And I got one that follows with it, by the way.
Yeah.
I think, Waz, you might have shown me this. Under your scopes in the bottom right is that display qualifier focus.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
So when you bring that up and you're using your qualifier, suddenly on your scopes, it's lighting up what's going on. Now, maybe it's the teaching pedagogy in me, or maybe it's those days where I've just had like one too many drinks, Waz. But sometimes it's really crazy useful to go, oh, my flesh tones here are just a mess. And look where they're showing up on the vector scope. Yeah, that's just one, like it's one that I had to remember to turn off because I have it on so much of the time now.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I did the old high-vis jacket, which was causing me,
Yeah, so that's
gamma
like,
issues.
I'm a little
Really
paused.
useful.
We'll wait for my internet to come back.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can hear me.
No, I like that. I like that one.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And then, what comes right with it for me is the viewer overlay. These can be set to the keyboard. If you were, regardless of, well, depending on what surface you have, these items here are easier or harder to get to. Some of them, I've got a Stream Deck. I've got these on my Stream Deck, but I'm not, if I'm on a keyboard, just the ability here, and I've mapped these to my keyboard. I have these on like F4, F5, and F6 if I've got the right keyboard set up. There they go. You can see it's changing here without me having to drop down. But just this beautiful part where, you know what, I've gone and I've switched tools and it's in the wrong choice here. The idea that I can bring up my keyboard. And in my keyboard, if you type in here, I think it's a view overlay. I think I had to go to it manually.
Okay.
Right? But that they're all viewer overlay. These are all mappable.
Yeah, I'm lazy.
Slow down.
I'm very lazy.
Well, I'm someday, there you go, F5, F6, F7, I've got them set. But it's, this comes from the fact that I used to teach toggling on and off, especially for when I was building power windows, that I would constantly, I learned a long time ago to build my power window with almost no softness at all to get its placement. And then to start scrubbing out the softness, but to toggle off its outline. So when my brain couldn't see the outline anymore, I knew it was set right.
Yeah, cool, man. Is that as our special guest here yet, Jeff? Do you know?
I believe our special guest is here.
Because you know you're going to get kicked off as soon as he or she arrives.
I want to get kicked off because he's so good. I'm going to stop my screen share. Let's bring him up.
I probably got busy. Had to go back to work.
Well, it's a Saturday, maybe not. You out there, Darren?
Thanks, man. That was good.
I think so.
You did well. All right, here he is.
Hello.
Hello, sir. It's good to see you, our special guest.
All right. Thank you for the email this morning when I was planning a nice day off.
Listen, my friend, I have to tell you, I'm just going to do it in front of a group of people. I'm just digging your YouTube channel.
Thank you, man.
I think more people need to see it. I don't care that it eats into some of the training and some of the stuff we do. I think it's good to have great people out there. I love the way you explain stuff. We're so glad you were willing to join us to do a tip. Please
no problem,
share your screen, talk to us.
Okay. Well, I'm actually supposed to be at IBC now, and that was obviously cancelled. I was booked to do the actual main stage at and
Darren was going to come live from the show floor with an update.
Yeah, that's right.
Which probably would have been from that bar at the beach afterwards. It would have been raining. It would have been dripping down his neck while he did the live cross, but obviously didn't happen. So now you're with us here, though, Des. Thanks
there we go. Yeah, so I'm going to join your wonderful mixer. So second year not together, isn't it? A shame.
But thank you.
Maybe next year. Okay. Yeah. So I've got. I've actually been working on a. I'm on 17.4 now. I'm on 0.1, not 0.2. But I've been working on a documentary this week that has got a lot of archive footage in it. And the footage, it's quite a sad documentary actually about a murder, but the footage is from 1997, which was, I think, when camera technology was pretty much at its lowest. I think it was not quite HD yet. The stuff just looks awful. So there's a tool that I use called Superscale, which really helps sometimes. So if you don't know Superscale, it's a bit of the DaVinci neural engine, and it basically, I don't know how it's working, but it's sort of kind of filling in missing pixel information, and it can really help with. I'm talking really bad footage here. This is police evidence footage. It's not even shot with anyone who's got a clue of cinematography. But the Superscale really does work. So I just want to show you something. Superscale's not new. It's been around since 16, I think. But there's another new feature that's just come in 17.4 that complements it. So if you don't mind, I'll just show you that. So
share your screen, sir.
Let me share my screen. Okay, how's that? Can you see my screen?
We can. Looks great.
Can you see that zoomy thing?
We can see that zoomy thing.
All right, so obviously I can't show you the actual documentary because it's still in post-production and the footage is obviously very sensitive. So I'm going to emulate that that footage using this lovely ARRI stuff, but it doesn't actually matter. It's not about, I'm not showing what Superscale does. I'm showing you this new feature in 17.4 that I really like. Okay, so to apply Superscale to a clip. So this is an actual film, and it came from a flattened high quality ProRes 444 file. Okay, so these are add edits within that program, but they all essentially come from the same clip, bar a few of these shots here that are stock footage. So when you apply superscale, which you do in the edit page, so all you got to do, so you can see these have all come from the same ungraded file, and I right-hand click, and if you go to clip attributes, okay, down the bottom here, so this has been here for a little while, but a lot of people don't know this is actually here, but superscale, if I add that on, you can go 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times. And what it's doing, it's not actually scaling the image, it's just scaling the amount of pixel information or perceived pixel information that's in there, okay? So I just put these where, I play around with these to find out what looks best. So in this instance, we went high and I went low noise reduction. And if you say okay, so if I now go back to my color page, if I start playing that back, it's a very intense processor. Now I'm on a top spec Mac Pro 2019, and I'm not getting real-time playback now, okay? So that's something to be careful of with superscale. It's not a quick effect. But the problem is that has now applied superscale to all my footage. So if I go to this clip, I've now got this superscale applied, okay? So this is a big problem because it all comes from the same original clip. So it doesn't matter where you apply it, it's going to apply to the original clip. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to show you how I get around this, because obviously all I wanted to apply it to is this bad archive footage. So what we do is use a feature called render in place, which came with 17. And you just literally click up here and say render in place. Now what render in place does is it renders that portion of clip that I've selected, just this one here. And I'm obviously going to set that to be full quality for the grade that I'm doing. Because I actually want to use this clip. But the new feature in 17.4 is this. It says include color grading effects. So you now have the option. I don't want to include the color grade effects because that's going to bake it into the clip. I don't want to bake it in. I want to make this clip independent so I can apply the superscale independently of the rest of the program. All right. So I'm going to take off include grading effects. I'm going to render that out. Okay. So now I can apply my superscale. So, okay. And the other files are not affected. Okay, so they're still on none. So it means I can now go back to my color page and I can switch on and off my grade. I can play it back. Obviously it's going to play back slow because the superscale is embedded in there, but it means I've still got the ability to tweak the grade and I'm not affecting the rest of the program. All right, so that was just something I've literally just stumbled across with 17.4, but for this documentary, we must have 20% of archive in it. It's a 90-minute. In fact, it's 2 times 90 minutes. I've got part 2 to do next week. So that really has been a little lifesaver. And you could even go in, what you could do if you wanted to is actually apply the superscale before you render in place, render that clip. So it's already got superscale embedded in it, which means you'll get real-time playback, and then you can undo it from the master clip.
Darren,
so I just thought it was a really good tip.
Yeah, it's cool. Are you really noticing a lot of difference using this superscale if you didn't have it?
I don't use it a lot, because the grunt you need is pretty phenomenal, and it's even worse. That's just playing it back. When you actually render it out, it really slows it down. So the 90-minute was a 67-minute, and my render out on this machine was looking at something like 5-6 hours. So it's pretty ridiculous. That, and I've got a 64.
What percentage of the clips? What percentage of the clips were using superscale on? 50%, 80%?
Couldn't tell you exactly, but it's a lot because it's a factual story of a murder. And
the other thing that I really love about this tip is that because you've got something coming over as a single baked file, you're able to choose which superscale and which noise reduction does best on a per shot basis, rather than just saying. Right, so it like wins for me for 2 reasons. One is that it's great for individual clips of differences, and it saves you from that gigantic timeline. That's a great item, man.
Yeah, no, really it's good. That. But the gotcha with it is I think people you can just put superscale on. You've got to be aware that it links to that clip, the master clip in the media pool. So you've got to be very careful that it's applying it globally across every instance of that clip that's in your timeline. So even if you're not working off one flattened file, you might have one file that is just the archive, for example, that's been flattened out for you. So just be aware of that. Shall I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah,
you did great. That was fantastic.
Good. So that was just a real world one that came up this week, and that's kind of how I find my tips that I put on my channel. It's like it's real world stuff that I'm doing. I just write it down. You know, it's like that'd be a good one for someone. So it's
Yeah.
you know, it was a cool little thing. I mean, there's some new
Thanks,
stuff.
bud.
The stuff in 17.4 is great. You know, there's I mean, the halation. I don't know how much I'm loving it yet. I'm having a little play with it. I've not got much downtime at the minute to really get into it, but I know everyone's really excited about it. I'm still sort of open season on that.
Cool, man. You going to hang around, or are you going to go back to work?
Yeah. So I'm in the studio at the minute. I've just got me and
Yeah.
the dog who's asleep on my very expensive sound mat.
Yeah.
I'm going to head back home, and I will join you all later.
That'd be good, mate. We'll chat more about that later on. But thanks a lot, Baz.
Yeah, it's good.
Really great.
Right. Thanks for
joining me.
By the way, just for those of you who are here, anytime you want to clap, you can either drop something in the chat saying like thanks, or the way we traditionally clap on Zoom is this.
We do. Thanks,
right?
Thanks very much.
Right. Thank you so much. And that brings on my friend Matt Howard. Matt, did you know I was going to be here?
I didn't know you were going to be here, Jeff. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. Matt is from Dell, and the monitors you guys make are amazing, my friend. I'm a huge fan, as you know.
Thanks, Jeff. That's great. And thanks to everybody for giving us a chance to speak and a chance to sponsor. It's always appreciated. I'm going to just show a couple slides. I'll keep the commercial part of this very short, but a few things I thought you might want to know in the lineup that could serve you. So I should be sharing now. So just a heads up, you guys know that my role here at Dell is Strategic Alliances. Emails here if you ever need anything, any information, feel free to reach out. I'm definitely accessible. I represent our precision product line. You probably know that's sort of a variety of form factors in mobile, tower, and rack. Pretty much can cover the full gamut. I'm going to point to a couple machines quickly because there's some developments here that may be interesting. Our Precision 7920 is the one, we have a tower and a rack format. I'm showing the rack format here. This is the one that's, multiple processors up to 56 cores total. And just recently we've qualified up to 3 RTX A6000s. So for high-end color grading workflows, this is the machine, the 7920 rack or the 7920 tower. We do a bunch of work to qualify things before we release them, and we wanted to make sure everything was going to work there. The other thing I'll point out is mobiles. This mobile, the 7760, we released earlier this summer, and this is one that I have customers doing on-set DI with. It really has great power and capability. It is an A5000 GPU in it. We give that GPU up to 115 watts of power, which makes it actually quite fast. Other systems you might not find deliver as much power. The other thing that's really interesting about this machine and why I found DI folks love it is you could put up to 4 M2 SSDs in it and RAID them. And so you get very, very high bandwidth off the internal disk. So, the guys I've talked to about this, they're taking camera raw straight from the camera store, dropping it onto disk and onto the RAID set, and they're off to the races. So a pretty neat machine. This machine also got a bump to PCIe Gen 4 for both the graphics and the storage. So double the bandwidth, much higher performance in this generation. The other couple things I want to mention was monitors. Jeff, thanks for the tee up. We have released an HDR monitor about this time last year. This is a 1000 nit HDR 1000 rated monitor with an active backlight, an integrated colorimeter. It is Kalman powered and self-calibrating. You can calibrate it externally if you want with your own calibration device. But as a UI monitor, it's something that's become popular in the space. So that one's a fairly interesting new display from Dell. Again, about 100% P3 coverage for that monitor and 80% of our BT2020. The other monitor I'll mention is this 40-inch curved. This is a relatively newer monitor that actually a 5K monitor. You can fit a full resolution DCI 4K image on this with some pixels to spare. This is a 98% P3 monitor, covers 100% of Rec 709. So if you need a ton of real estate and something that's reasonably accurate for your UI, this is actually a pretty decent monitor.
You mind if I speak out about both of those screens, my friend?
Go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, for sure.
Come back to the HDR screen.
Yeah.
What you don't know is one of our Greg, our resident educator around calibration and the like. He said he's a huge fan of it. I'm a huge fan of it. It's just got such its price point is great, and I love the fact that it's got a little calibration piece built into it. And then go to the ultra wide. This to me has become, you got to go forward one slide, my friend. Yeah, there you go.
True. There you go.
That ultra wide is just crazy. The idea that I can work pixel accurate in Resolve and have something at 100% and see the entire image has just been a boon. It's probably like my favorite screen right now as far as just everyday back and forth usage. Whether it's the Thunderbolt 3, it just works. I tried using the picture side by side with two different computers. Totally didn't like it. Liked only the one giant interface for what it's worth. So I thought I'd blow some wind into your sails on that one, because both these screens are just such great tools.
And with that, I just want to thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank our co-sponsor, NVIDIA, who helped us fund this and actually included what you can't see with my background is the NVIDIA Shield.
Put it across your chest. Put it across your chest.
There you go. The NVIDIA Shield, which little HDR, 4K HDR TV box that they make. So thanks again for the opportunity, guys. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the session today.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.